free. But before we do, I'm gonna make sure these kids have something good to eat. So, Boston, get in line.
I'm first.
Everyone get in line. Here we go. You get back there.
So we're gonna go.
I love that I can talk to my nephews that way. Get in line. Now go back to the back of the line. Get in line. Now go back to the back of the...
Later on in this video, we're going to be talking about the shocking accusations that Ruby Franke made against her minor child in court on the 8th of September. But before we get into those claims, I want to show you some of the disturbing, uncovered, deleted 8-passenger footage from her family channel. I want to show these to you guys before I talk to you about what she accused her son of, because we need to remember who we're talking about. The footage that I'm about to show you of Ruby Franke with her children is very disturbing, and usually I do blur out the kids' faces, but in some of these clips, I feel that it's important for you to be able to see their reactions to some of the things that are happening in these videos. I want to make it very clear before we continue that I don't personally believe Ruby Franke's accusations, but I'm not claiming that they're not true for the purpose of this video because I do not know. But on a personal level, I don't believe them. And here's some of the videos of why.
So I have been spending more time with Connections and being a mental health educator. And I am teaching a parenting class in September.
Sometimes I've wondered if I should, like, you know, get rid of my kids.
Amazingly well behaved for being in town.
But you yelled at me.
Shh. The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know. That never happens. In my house, I never yell.
Sometimes I have to neglect the kids.
Came to you on fire. Would you say, I'm so glad you trusted me to tell me you're on fire, but if I put out the fire, that's gonna really hurt and you're gonna end up with scabs anyway, so I'm just gonna love you where you are right now? No, you throw them on the ground and you start rolling them. You get a blanket and you start hitting the flames, and they're gonna say, you're hurting me, you're beating me, you're controlling. It's like, no dear, hold still. I'm getting the fire out. That's what a loving parent does. And because nobody will do it, it looks to the world crazy. And because they've never been loved before, it looks like I'm angry. To them, it looks like I'm controlling. It looks like I'm militant. It looks like I'm a monster. It looks like I'm mean. It looks like I'm full of hate. It looks like I'm not accepting it, because they don't know what love looks like.
She said, Mom, I'm sad. I was like, that's awesome.
It was every night.
I'm not.
Yeah, she sees it every night. She can never sleep.
And you thought you had to sneak it past me? Oh, honey, that's okay. Are you gonna cry?
She's laughing.
Oh, honey, I'm not gonna get mad at you for that. Oh, you can bring sprinkles. You can bring sprinkles, honey.
Eve came and got in bed with me at about 2 this morning. She's like, Mom, I peed the bed, which is not like her. She pees the bed maybe like once every 8 months. Like, it's been a very long time since she wet the bed. I was like, oh, darn it, that's all right. Just go sleep on the floor in the bath.
Some days parenting requires uncomfortable conversations, bold confrontations, and lots of squabbles. Today I have all three.
I have learned a very special lesson today. Parenting does not take a break. So the reason why Eve did not go skiing with us was because she left her ski coat at school. And over the Christmas break before New Year's, they took everything from the lost and found and took it to donate. And Eve said, well, that's okay. Just buy me a new one. Just buy me a new ski coat. I said, that is a very entitled attitude. And that is not how we work around here. If you lost your ski coat, you lost your privilege to go skiing.
Yeah, so this morning the conversation went that the kids really wanted draw names for Christmas. I insist it's too early, and I don't want to be breeding thoughts of, I don't know, selfishness.
I want to get out of this conversation.
Oh no, this is an uncomfortable conversation we must have.
Am I mad? Are you angry at me?
Let's sit. I gave Julie a tongue lashing
that will not ever be repeated nor recorded. Just use your imagination. It was bad. I am gonna say one nice thing, and that is you took your lashing very well. And I'm going to pretend that life is exactly how I want it.
I want to go.
All right?
On Friday, September 8th, Ruby Franke and her friend and business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, were seen at their very first court appearance.
Miss Franke, can you hear me?
Yes.
Her husband, that she is currently separated from, Kevin Franke, was in the courtroom, as well as her 2 oldest children. And a lot of people apparently showed up to watch this, and it caused a lot of glitches in the stream. I was not able to find any footage of the things that were said, but we did catch a glimpse of Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt during the live stream. We were able to see them, and they both look terrified, as they should be. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because there were some very shocking claims that were made by Ruby Franke about her child. This is extremely disturbing and going to be very difficult to listen to. I'm just going to warn you about that right now, because the things that she was alleging her child did are no joke. So I'm going to read directly from this article about what Ruby Franke accused her minor child of doing. It says, speaking to the public courtroom on Thursday, the Mormon mom at times broke down as she made shocking claims that one of her minor children, their sibling, and several other family members and children in the neighborhood over the years. It says, seeming to pin the blame for her behavior on her children, Franke went into horrific detail about how one of her 6 kids abused other children. She claimed that one of Franke's kids began looking at pornography at just 3 years old. I just want to make note of this here to say that if this is true, this is also another example of neglect on her part. If that's true, that doesn't make her look any better. A lot of people believe that these claims that she's currently making are complete lies and fabrications, trying to get herself out of this, which there's no way she's going to get herself out of this. There's so much evidence against her for the that she's caused to her children. Let's just hypothetically say that if that were true, that means that her child was not being watched at 3 years old, which is a very, very real possibility from all of the evidence that we've seen on her YouTube channel of neglect. The video where she talked about leaving her 3-year-old on the couch watching TV so that she could take a nap. If her 3-year-old stumbled upon at that age and was watching it, that is her fault. That is because she is a bad mother and neglectful. If a 3-year-old is coming across anything like that, that is traumatic, that they should not be watching, it is on the parent. Why are you not watching your 3-year-old child? And one of the most shocking claims, Franke said that her child had been a younger sibling for years, adding that eventually the 2 of them began to abuse other children. So she makes this claim that her minor child was doing this, but then the child that this child was doing it to then started doing it to other kids as well. She also claimed that her 2 children played a patting game with each other, but did not go into further detail. Franke said that in May, her child confessed to 20 people, including cousins and neighbors. She provided no proof of her sickening allegations. The court went eerily silent after Ruby made the disturbing claims. The judge then said that her alleged child will then need to be placed in a home with no other children. So I believe that she is coming from an angle of trying to say that maybe one of the reasons that he was duct taped was because he confessed to this in May. I think maybe that's probably the angle she's going to come from. And after all of the things that we know about Ruby, I don't think one person is going to believe her unless it comes out of the child's mouth himself that this actually happened. I obviously am not going to make a claim to know what is true or what is not true, but if this is not true, what an awful accusation to make against your child. Nonetheless, if something like this did occur in their home and their children were doing this, that does not excuse duct taping your child and restraining them and them having wounds all over their body. If your child confesses something like this to you, you need to take it to the authorities. You need to take it to professionals. Confession like that, had that truly happened, which we do not know at this point if it did or if it did not, but if it did happen, I think a parent of sound mind, a normal parent, a parent who isn't wouldn't restrain their child with duct tape and starve them. They would probably take the appropriate actions to remove the child from other children and report the behavior. I feel like that's what a good parent would do. It's extremely disturbing to me, whether the accusations were true or not, that she would say this in the courtroom as if that makes what we know happened to these kids any better. These are minor children that are traumatized, that have come from an environment where they're being and starved and exploited. Any behavioral issues that these kids have is a direct result of the bad parenting that their parents have exhibited since the time that they were born. It also says, in a surprising courtroom move, an attorney who was sitting in the public viewing area stood up and asked the judge to hear details about the molestation of another child because a mother of one of the alleged victims was in the courtroom. The judge denied the request, citing that details of the alleged be heard at a future time. I really wish that this had been recorded because I want to see her say this shit. I want to see her make these accusations. This woman is crazy. I don't doubt that these children could have potentially had behavioral issues because of the environment that they were in. I want to make this very clear, okay? I'm not going to get in this video and say that what she's accusing this child of is true or not true because I do not know, and I'm not going to make that claim. I'm just going to tell you what was said. None of it excuses Ruby and Jody's abuse. None of it. I guess there is going to be another court hearing on the 15th of September. I do not know if this one's going to be live streamed, and if it is, I will definitely, show you guys footage from that if I'm able to find it, and I will cover it and let you guys know what was said. I'm so disturbed by this. I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't these accusations. This is really bad and really dark, and I'm curious to see where else this is gonna go. I also think it's worth mentioning that the niece of Jody Hildebrand had done a interview with another YouTuber, and in this interview talked about similar abuse that had occurred in the same ways that Russell Franke had been restrained. This is a pattern. This is not a one-time thing. This is something that has repeatedly happened.
The amount of paranoia and fear that I had, where it's like, I can't talk to anyone. And also people saw me duct taped. People saw that these things were going on. And other than the few people that went to Bishop and being like, hey, something's wrong, no one did anything.
There is also another family member of Ruby Franke that came out and did an interview with Law and Crime Network, and they also spoke about similar abuse that had happened to them in this family, and basically that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and some of the things that they're hearing about is very familiar to them. So this is something that has been going on in this family for a long time, and they're passing down these bad behaviors from one child to the next.
I suppose I wasn't expecting some of the details in that story to line up with some of the details in my own family history, I guess is what I'm trying to say, quite as well as it did. Well, my mother handcuffed my sisters when they were young, and a lack of food wasn't uncommon, but it wasn't out of a lack necessarily of money. There was a time when it could have been prevented, but it wasn't. The lack of food, I mean. And the handcuffing, that happened to my family too with my own mother.
I'm so disturbed about this, you guys. You're gonna have to get in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are down below. And if you guys would like me to continue to cover this, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my updates on the Ruby Franke situation. As it unfolds, I will continue to cover it for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will be seeing you in my next one.